Welcome to the regular Faroes News Report. It is Saturday, January 17th, 2026.
Good to be here. We have quite a lot to get through today. A lot of updates covering everything from the security situation up in the high north to the real granular details of the local economy.
We certainly do. So let's give you the rundown of the headlines. We're going to start with the news that Denmark and its Nordic allies are, well, they're formally responding to military pressure regarding Greenland.
Then we'll be moving to the business sector.
Right. Blue water shipping is taking over Posta's freight operations. And then we have some pretty eye-opening export numbers, especially a huge surge in mackerel value.
And on the domestic front, we'll look at new legislation that's been proposed for housing rent subsidies. We also have a series of inquiries happening in the electing about sick pay equality and childbirth support for residents of Suroy.
And we also have some important clarifications from their ministry on religious freedom and building regulations.
Yeah, that's right.
And finally, we'll wrap up with the opinion and debate pages. We've got Helgi Abrahamsson's critique of the fiscal reality and the ongoing dispute between Kringvarp and Jarfingi about the Suðuroy tunnel.
So, a packed agenda.
Let's get right into it with the situation in the Arctic. This has been building for a while, but we are seeing concrete movement now. Reports are confirming that Denmark is sending military reinforcements to Greenland.
That's correct. We're seeing the logistics of this move into, the operational phase. According to the reporting from DR, the Danish Defense Force has officially sent what they're calling a pre-command to Greenland.
Okay, just to clarify for our listeners, what exactly does a pre-command mean in this context?
It's essentially the advance team. So this is a preliminary deployment that's designed to prepare the logistics, the infrastructure, all of that, for potentially larger forces that might arrive later.
It's not just paperwork.
No, not at all. We have confirmed hardware movement. A Challenger jet from the Danish Air Force landed in Nuuk on Monday, January 12th.
So, actual boots and wheels on the ground in Nuuk. This obviously isn't happening in a vacuum. What's the catalyst here?
It is a direct response to the geopolitical climate. The reports, they all indicate this follows increased rhetoric from the United States.
Yeah.
Specifically, we're looking at the renewed discussion around President Trump's desire to purchase Greenland, which has been paired with significant criticism of the island's current defense capabilities.
The argument being that if the kingdom can't defend it, maybe someone else will.
Precisely. It puts a lot of pressure on Copenhagen to show a visible presence. But what makes this story particularly significant is that Denmark is not acting alone here.
Okay.
We are seeing a kind of Nordic coalition forming around this issue.
You're referring to the Finnish involvement?
Yes. The Finnish Foreign Minister, Elina Valtonen, has confirmed to YLE that Finland has been explicitly asked to send soldiers to Greenland.
Wow. That is a major step for Finland, historically speaking.
It is. Valtonen described the situation as not easy, which, is a diplomat's way of saying it is highly complex and very sensitive.
And it's not just Finland.
No. There are reports indicating Sweden, Norway, Germany, and France have also pledged support to the realm in this.
It sounds like a unified front, but my understanding is that there's a significant crack in that unity when we look further south in Europe.
That's right. Poland has taken a very different stance on this. The Polish Prime Minister, Donald Tusk, has explicitly denied that Poland will send troops.
And his reasoning was quite alarmist, wasn't it?
It was very stark. Tusk warned that a scenario where a NATO nation attacks another NATO nation's territory, which is the implicit fear here, would be catastrophic. He basically said it would be the end of the world as we know it.
So you have Nordic allies mobilizing to support the realm, while Poland is signaling that the very idea of this conflict could break the alliance itself.
Exactly. It's a very, very tense moment for the region.
Let's pivot from geopolitics to the local economy and logistics. If you're moving goods in the North Atlantic, well, the landscape is about to change. Blue Water Shipping has announced a major acquisition.
Yes, this is a pretty significant consolidation in the freight sector. Blue Water Shipping announced they're taking over Posta's freight operations.
And this isn't just in the Faroes, correct?
No, it's broader. The takeover is effective from February 1st, 2026, and it covers Posta's operations in both the Faroe Islands and in Denmark.
Now, whenever we hear about takeovers, the first question for businesses is always about disruption. Is my package going to get stuck? Are my rates changing overnight?
Well, both parties seem keen to address that. Yandem Paulsen from Blue Water and Edvard S. Remberg from Posta have both issued statements confirming that this is intended to be a seamless transition.
So business as usual for the client.
That is the promise. The statement confirms that all current agreements, all the services, they will continue unchanged after the takeover date.
And what about the employees?
The staff who are currently involved in these freed operations at Posta will transfer over to Blue Water Shipping.
Okay.
Blue Water is framing this move as a key part of their long-term plan to, strengthen their position in the North Atlantic. They're basically scaling up.
Speaking of scaling up and moving goods, let's look at what is actually leaving the islands. Hagstofa Faroe has released the export numbers for the 12 months ending in November 2025.
They have, and the total export value has reached 13.4 billion Danish kroner.
Yeah.
Which is a strong figure.
But when you look under the hood of that number, there are some really wild swings between the different species of fish.
There really are. The headline story here is mackerel. We are seeing just massive growth in that sector. The export value for mackerel went up by nearly 800 million kroner.
Just to put that in perspective, what's the percentage growth on that?
That is a 65.6% increase in value. It's enormous.
Is that just because they caught more fish?
It's a combination, but the pricing power is the real story. The volume of mackerel exported, that increased by about 19%, which is healthy, but the price per kilo,
Yes, it shot up.
it rose by nearly 39%. So they're selling more fish at a much, much higher price.
That is the dream scenario for an exporter. But it seems the salmon industry is facing the exact opposite reality.
It's a very different trend. The export value for salmon actually decreased slightly by about 40 million kroner. It's a drop of 0.7%.
That sounds pretty stable, but I'm guessing the volume tells a different story.
Correct. The volume of salmon exported actually went up by 17.1%. So the industry produced and sold significantly more fish, but made slightly less money.
So the price per kilo took a hit.
A significant one. The data indicates the price per kilo for salmon has dropped by roughly 15%. So you have mackerel surging in price and salmon softening.
And where are all these exports going? Any big shifts in the markets?
The EU is still the dominant partner. Exports to the EU increased by over 1 billion kroner. But there's another interesting data point regarding Russia.
We know trade with Russia has been a complex topic.
It has, but the numbers show it is rising again. Exports to Russia totaled 180.4 million kroner in November 2025 alone.
Before we leave the economy, I want to touch on a success story at the municipal level. Ness municipality is posting some record figures.
Yes, Mayor Suni Yolum has reported that the total tax revenue for the municipality hit 101.3 million kroner for 2025, and that's up 15.1% from 2024.
A double-digit increase. What's driving that?
Well, a big part of it is corporate tax. That set a new record at 5.5 million kroner. The mayor explicitly attributed this to the strong performance of the bottom fish industry.
It just reinforces what we always say. When the fleet does well, the municipalities do well.
It does.
Moving on to social issues and legislation, we have a new proposal regarding housing. The Minister of Social Affairs, Margit Stora, has sent a bill on rent subsidies out for review.
This is a pretty significant piece of social legislation. The proposal aims to introduce a legal right to rent subsidies.
Meaning it becomes a guarantee if you meet the criteria.
Exactly. The plan is for the government to cover 20% of the rent cost.
Is there a cap on that?
Yes, the maximum subsidy is set at 1,500 kroners per month.
And who is eligible? What are the income thresholds?
It targets low to medium income households. For a household with one adult, the earnings have to be under 350,000 kroners a year. For households with two adults, the combined earnings must be under 500,000 kroner.
And when would this take effect?
The planned implementation date is July 1st, 2026.
Staying on the topic of well-being, but shifting to the workplace. The union Starfsfélagið has released a new survey.
Yes, this gives us a look at the psychological working environment. The data shows some improvement, but there are still some red flags.
What's the good news?
Reports of bullying have decreased. In the previous survey, it was at 20%. It's now down to 16%.
16% is still a pretty substantial number, though.
The union noted exactly that. They pointed out that while the trend is down, this figure is still higher than what you see in neighboring countries.
And the bad news?
Stress. Stress levels are still high. The main causes cited by employees are heavy workload and issues with work-life balance.
Okay.
And there was a notable detail about which government department is struggling the most. Employees under the Ministry of Finance reported the lowest confidence in how these issues are being handled.
Let's move into the lecting. We have several inquiries to discuss, and it seems like there's a theme of equality running through them. First, this issue raised about childbirth and travel.
Yes, This was raised by MP Susanna Bertholdsen to the Minister of Social Affairs. It's a very specific issue that affects families in Suðuroy.
Because of the geography, right?
Right, because Suðuroy is the southernmost island and it relies on a ferry. Expectant mothers often have to travel to Tórshavn days before their due date just to be safe.
And the partner usually comes with them.
Yes, but that's where the financial penalty kicks in. The partners often lose income or have to burn through vacation days just sitting in Tórshavn waiting.
So they're financially disadvantaged compared to someone who could just...
It can work right up until the birth, exactly. Bertholdsen is requesting specific compensation for this travel and waiting time to ensure there's equality for residents of Suðuroy.
And there's another equality inquiry from MP Annika Olsen, this time about sick pay.
Olsen is highlighting a disparity between salaried staff and hourly workers. Under the current system, salaried staff generally get full pay during illness.
And hourly workers don't.
Often, no. Hourly and temporary workers frequently only receive a maximum of 80% of a set rate through social services.
And does she link this to any specific sector?
She does. She specifically noted this impacts the elderly care sector because so many women working in that field are on hourly contracts. So she's asking if the Salaried Employees Act will be updated to ensure 100% coverage for all workers.
We also had a clarification regarding religious freedoms. This has been a topic of conversation lately.
Yes, MP Janice of Rana submitted an inquiry about foreign religious symbols and building regulations, specifically concerning mosques.
And how did the minister respond?
Minister Siri Stenberg gave a very clear response based on the law. She stated that there are no special impediments to building a mosque in the Faroe Islands. It requires a building permit just like any other structure.
So it's about zoning and safety, not religion.
Exactly. But she did go further. She emphasized that freedom of religion is protected by the European Convention on Human Rights. Her response made it explicitly clear that the government cannot place bans on religious buildings without violating these international obligations.
On the subject of rights, there's a public hearing coming up.
Next week, January 22nd, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs will host a public hearing on the Universal Periodic Review, the UPR for the United Nations.
This is essentially the UN's review of the human rights situation.
Correct. And NGOs like Amnesty International and MAGD will be presenting their assessments of where the Faroe Islands stand.
We are going to close out today with the opinion and debate segment. Two main topics here. First, Helgi Abrahamsson has published a critique of the national budget.
Yes, Abrahamsson is really taking aim at how we talk about the economy. He argues that the current political discourse creates kind of illusion. He critiques the habit of comparing the block grant or budget cuts to the overall GDP.
Why does he take issue with that comparison?
Because he says comparing these numbers to the GDP makes them seem like insignificant pocket change, which minimizes the urgency.
Did he give any numbers to back this up?
He did. For example, he points out that raising the pension age saves an amount equal to only 0.2% of GDP. But his main point is about the deficit. He calculates that if you remove the block grant from Denmark, the actual deficit for the Treasury is 812 million kroner.
So his argument is that the factual reality is a massive deficit that's being ignored.
Precisely. He wants the conversation to start from that number.
Our second debate topic is a bit more technical, but just as heated. It's the dispute between Kringvarp Faroe and Jarfingi over the Suðuroy tunnel.
This has escalated to a formal complaint. Jarfingi, the Earth Energy Directorate, claimed that Kringvarp's coverage of their geological report was misleading.
And Kringvarp has responded.
The CEO, Magnus Dam, has responded, and he is standing by the reporting. He maintains their coverage was journalistically sound.
What's the core of the disagreement?
It's about the geology at Skarvanes. Kringvarp reported that Jarfingi's own report recommended more drilling because of tectonic folding and geological uncertainty in that area.
So the scientists said, we need to check this more, but the political narrative was, we're ready to dig.
That is Kringvarp's position. They assert it's their duty to report when technical recommendations, like the need for more drilling, differ from political assessments that say the project is ready to go.
Finally, we just want to mention a speech by Sjur Skal.
Yes, Sjur Skal delivered an alternative New Year's speech on the Danish channel DK4. It was quite a reflective piece.
What was the theme?
He spoke on the need to show courage against evil that's spreading in the world. And he used a very Faroese metaphor, the trolls in the mountains.
The idea that sunlight turns them to stone.
Exactly. He used the trolls as teachers of this lesson, that you have to shine a light on these things.
A fitting thought to end on. especially given the news we started with today. That concludes our regular Faroes News Report for Saturday, January 17th, 2026.
Like and subscribe to PALS Fundamentals for more content like this. Sources linked below.